My name's not Litnig, and then he ate my asshole. Okay. Pasta trying to be good when it sucks enough to be a troll. Okay, let's see. Tony Hawk's Last Skater. I had just finished unpacking my things after moving house. My new home was waiting for me. Before setting all my shit up, I was just laying there, bored out of my mind with nothing to do. I just kept thinking about what I could do to pass the time when I saw something in the corner of my eye. A disc. I got up to see what it was, hoping that it was a game I haven't played in ages. I picked it up. I saw that it was an old PlayStation Tony Hawk game. Much like this one! Much like that one indeed. I quickly remembered all the fun I used to have playing it. I remember it being somewhat different to all the other games I had. I was about to plug in my PlayStation 2 when I noticed lots of scratches on the underside of the disc. This made me kind of sad, because I was hoping that I could have a fun nostalgic adventure in my old game. Even so, I decided to try it out, just in case, you know? After popping the disc in, I started hearing a curious sound coming from my television. It was like the sound a record makes if you push down the needle too hard. Once the sound finally stopped, to my relief, I looked back at the screen to see a message appear, and it read, "This disc is unreadable. Please call our helpline number for more information. 333-333. I stared at this number in a peculiar way. Why, it was the same digit used over and over. I think I read that wrong. Why was the same digit used over and over? Later on in the day, bored out of my mind, I decided that I should try to get a new game to play instead. As I walked down the street, I saw a phone booth. I suddenly came over with a sensation I should call that number. As I called the number, I noticed that I forgot to put any coins in, but strangely it worked anyway because plot convenience. I heard a sudden cough. I heard a sudden cough. I heard a sudden cough like one of these. Like one of those types of coughs. What a chilling voice. Answer the phone.
Hello. How may I help you today?
Creeped out by his tone of speech, I quietly replied, I would just like to call about a game of mine. It is really scratched, and I needed to be cleansed. Cleansed of its impurities. I heard a calm breath under the static.
Very well then. Send it to this address. 999 Beazle Street. Beelzebub.
Why am I making a Play-Doh snake right now? I suddenly thought of how odd a name was for that town. And that and the fact that he gave me no other details. All he said was to send it to that address. So I calmly answered with a, "Thank you."
Thank you.
I heard another breath under the static.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Freaked out by this, I quickly slammed the phone on the hook and tried to ignore the creepy voice. 999 is the spooky number upside down. Let's see, when I got to the post office, I soon saw that there was no one else at all. In fact, I seemed to be the like that. I like that. It's a little bit of a grammatical trip up there. Seemed to be the only person in the street. I slowly walked up to the counter and asked the man if I could have a stamp. He turned and looked at me and just stared for a few seconds before calmly saying,
Hello. How may I help you today?
I stopped in my track of mind. I had realized that he sounded strangely like the person at the helpline. This is more like a cartoon. It sounds more like the plot of a cartoon of some sort. Spooky man on the phone turns out to be the same guy who was at the post office. This guy is stalking me. Why? I just wanted to buy all your chocolate. I don't know. I was careful when walking home after that. I was more than a little freaked out about the guy at the post office. I tried to make it home without any more scares. Will I be successful? I was. I made it home safely, don't worry. Now it was midnight and I just had dinner. I decided I would finally play the game. Pardon me. I sat there in my living room, waiting for the game to load. When without any of the company logos popping up, the menu screen appeared. Almost said menu scream. Apologies. But this was an odd title on it. It said in giant letters, Tony Hawk's Last Skater. I thought to myself that maybe this was the final game or something, and below it were 4 different modes. Begin, 2, music, and options. Wondering what kind of music the game had to offer, I chose the 3rd option. After a few seconds of loading it, came to a list of songs to play, and oddly, there was only one. Seeing as there was nothing to do, I pressed X to play the song, and it started playing that horrible record scratching sound. I pressed X continuously until it instantly stopped. I was so relieved that it stopped, felt like my ears were bleeding. Bloody ears. Went back to the menu, and this time chose Begin. The game started up rather normally, nothing unusual about it at first. All there was to see was a gray concrete pathway, a few half-pipes on each side, and an empty night sky, but to my annoyance, the scratchy music was playing in the background. I got used to the controls very quickly, so I was having good fun grinding along the edge of the pipes. My character was rather odd, though. He was a Caucasian teenager with a red cap, black hoodie, and dark blue jeans. One thing I found odd about him is that the camera wouldn't let me view his face, no matter what button I press. I spent quite a few minutes riding up and down the pipes when I heard an odd note of a violin being played really loud. Bloody Ears reminds me of the Castlevania Bloody Tears theme. My character then stopped dead in his tracks. I mashed buttons trying to move him, but he wouldn't do anything. Did this for about a minute until the music stopped. My character suddenly began to turn to face behind him along with the camera. When it stopped, everything was gone, except for a lava pit with a rail going into it at an angle as if the game wanted me to grind it. Seeing as I had nothing else to do, I jumped onto the rail and started sliding down it. My character strangely went straight through the molten rock. When I got to the end of the rail, it hit a wall of concrete. In the wall of concrete, I noticed a gap. I carefully rode into it and saw nothing but blackness. I could see what was a small pin of white light in the distance. I continued to ride towards it when I heard that violin screech again, and what happened next would really freak me out. A chilling voice suddenly shouted, "Hurry! Hurry!" I rode as fast as I could, hoping to get to the end, and what appeared to be the lava flooded the screen. Everything suddenly went black after that. After a small amount of darkness, the screen suddenly changed to a loading screen. I wonder what crazy shit would happen next when the sound of backward playing violins played. Ooh, playing backwards. This made me shit scared. I've never heard of that term before, shit scared. Usually it's scared shitless, but shit scared's good too. But I didn't freak out too much. As I waited for the screen to load up, it was nothing but a plain white space with a guy standing nearby a massive gate. I got closer to the featureless guy to see what would happen, but I stopped and heard a calm voice say,
"How may I help you?"
Oh boy. This scared me. It reminded me of something I couldn't put my finger on it. He said,
You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?
I like the Ben Drown reference.
You deserve a second chance.
The screen went white and slowly faded into a rather well-rendered street, as well as PS1 could render. Maybe a term like "get scared the living shit inside me" would be a valid one. That would be a good one too. I soon started rolling my board across the ground, down the street, when I noticed something familiar. The street looked exactly like the one I live in! I was very curious and carried along, going until I found an open door in a shop. Guys, I referenced being my story good now? I think I might have read this one years ago, like 2012 or something. It's ringing a couple of bells. Anyway, let's keep going. Very curious and carried on going until I found an open door in a shop. Being curious, I looked inside to find a man behind a counter, who then said in a familiar voice, "Here we go again."
Very well, then.
I was confused at this point. Very well, what? I heard that shrill noise again and quickly rode outside, growing fear to find a sign. Sign. What the sign had written on it would haunt me to this day.
Welcome to Beazle Street. Population. You and him.
My character suddenly turned around to see a guy behind him. The camera instantly zoomed into the back of his head. He slowly turned around until I saw his face. I then realized that it was the guy in the post office. The camera then zoomed out to show the back of my character's head. He slowly turned around to reveal his features, and it was me, staring straight out at the camera, and then I heard a chilling voice.
You're welcome, anytime.
The screen then went out into a black screen, and that was that. Now I want to leave the place where I live even more. I sat there for about 10 minutes in shock. After seeing what just happened, I hurriedly rushed up to my PS2 and turned it off. I rushed upstairs, grabbed the disc out of it, and threw it out the window. I rushed at packing all my things and ran out the door as quickly as I could when I saw that guy. He stood there just staring when he said,
"See you again in hell."
I'm really expecting if someone were to make this, that he would have a stereotypical cartoon villain laugh along with this, because this is how it plays out. I ran from my car and opened the door and jumped in it. I shoved the keys in the hole, turned them, and put the car into gear, smashed my foot down onto the pedal. I shot up the road safe. I shot up the road. I turned back in fear to see who was there and saw nothing behind me but a pit of lava. I turned back and quickly drove away, starting to calm down. I looked at my sat-nav to see that there was no town behind me. Just a mark that said a mysterious name.
Mount Lucifer.
This category was very well deserved. It says, well, that was pointless. Let me do a quick review on this. There's not much to say about this boss in terms of grammatical errors, or it had its share of grammatical errors, but there's just nothing that jumps out at you as actual real shock value. It seems more like shock value that would be, like I said several times throughout reading this, a cartoon. And maybe not a good cartoon at that. But yeah. Villain twirls his mustache and curses those wacky racers. Exactly. The antagonist of this whole story is like a cartoon villain. Is like a mustache twirling cartoon villain. And there really was no point in the gameplay. It was just a whole bunch of random shit crammed into random shit crammed into the meat and potatoes of what the story revolves around. I would find the grammatical errors scary if they were the same as Chris Chan's grammatical errors. Oh boy. It's Ben drowned for no reason. Yeah, exactly. Then the Ben drown reference just completely killed anything it could have had going for it. Because of that whole "you met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" That was cheap. That was hella cheap. Yeah. You know, I'll not the worst I've read, but it's bad. It's up there in terms of like clichéness and referencing other pastas, that kind of thing. I would give this one I will give this pasta a rating of 1.5 out of 5 dog shits.